First slide, what I want to do is talk a little bit about the first training event. Okay? If you don't know about it yet, next on the 23rd through the 25th, Tom Ferry is going to be doing a training in Los Angeles. Okay? All of the trainings that I'm going to recommend that we attend as a company, all of them are going to be relatively local, no more than an hour, maybe 2 hours away if I find something in San Diego. But they're all going to be local, so there shouldn't be any excuse as to why you can't go. And if you aren't investing a day or two per month, per quarter, per year in going to these events and getting these trainings, then really you're just hurting yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, a lot of times people want to talk about the incomes that can be generated in real estate, but the reality is that a lot of people don't put the time that they need to put in investing in the training that they need to get, and obtaining these skills so that they can make the six-figure income. So this training is happening on July 23rd through the 25th. It's $300, $297. Now, here's the deal. If I call Tom Ferry's office this afternoon, I can probably get us a good discount package if I get enough agents to go. So I'm going to be there. I want to make sure that everybody who is here today also registers or lets us know that they want to be there so that we can get those tickets for you so we can all go as a group. It's at the LAX Marriott right next to the airport. Okay? 23rd, 24th, and 25th. All right? There's a video associated with it, but because we got started a little late, I'm going to move on to the next slide. All right? Now, open house success. So what I'm going to be doing, is I'm going to be covering 6 tips, tricks, and hacks on how to have a successful open house. Okay? But before I get there, I really want to make sure that everybody understands the mindset, the right type of mindset you have to have. And you have to have the mindset of a CEO. Okay? Who here thinks that you have a job right now as a real estate agent? Nobody, good. Who here thinks that they are an entrepreneur? Good. I should see everybody's hands up, right? Because as a real estate agent, as a real estate broker, you really are your own business, you guys. Okay, you really, really are. And you have to understand it and treat it that way, okay? It's very important that you respect the profession that you're in, okay? This is not get rich quick. It is going to take some time. It is going to take some effort. You're going to have to invest in yourself. You're going to have to learn the skills that you have to learn in order to be successful, okay? So I really want to make sure that you guys understand that, I can teach you all the tips and all the tricks and all the strategies in the world, but if you don't have the right mindset, right? If you don't have that CEO mindset that this is your own business, and if you don't treat it like a business, then really what's going to happen is you're going to treat it like a hobby. And if you treat it like a hobby, then you're going to generate the type of income that a hobby generates. Okay? Trust me. All right? So, have the CEO mindset. Okay. Number 2, let's talk about the tools that you're going to need. You are going to need tools. Going back to what I said about having the right type of mindset, the CEO mindset. When you own a business, okay, and I use restaurants a lot because that's a traditional business that we can all kind of relate with. When you own a restaurant, do you or do you not have to invest in tools, in appliances, in furniture to get the business started? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. It's just something that's common knowledge. You just know that this is something that you're going to have to do. Okay? But for some reason, people get involved in real estate, and the first thing they try to do is they try to cut corners and try to find different ways to not have to invest in their business. Right? Okay? I know this, so I might as well be upfront with you, and I might as well tell you the tools that you're going to need if you want to make your open houses successful. Number 1, you're going to need open house signs. Okay? Now here's the thing. In the past, we've been really cool about lending signs and giving people their own signs. But what happens is that when people need those signs, then we're hunting and we're chasing and we're looking for all the signs, and it's very burdensome, and quite frankly, it's a waste of time. This is your own business. Okay? We're all big boys and big girls here. Get your own open house signs. Each open house sign is going to cost you about 10, maybe 20 bucks. I'm suggesting that you get 30. Okay? You want to have as many open house signs as you possibly can to help you build the business. So, get 30 open house signs. Okay? Get 2 feather flag banners. Do you guys know what feather flag banners are? Those are those long banners that look kind of like feathers, right, that you put on the front lawn, okay? You need to have 2 of those. I want 2 of those in front of the house. You want to try to attract as much attention as you possibly can. Feather banners are going to cost you another 35 to 50 bucks. If you get it really elaborate, it can cost you up to 100 bucks, okay? You're going to need 2 foldable chairs, okay? You're going to need these in your trunk, okay? You're also going to need one foldable table. You may need a tablecloth. It's entirely up to you, right? But you definitely need 2 foldable chairs and a foldable table, all right? How many times have you guys walked in to an open house, right? And you walk in and all you see is somebody just standing in the corner, right? It happens, okay? Agents do this. And look, I'm guilty of this just like anybody else, okay? It doesn't look good. It's not inviting. It's not professional. Get 2 chairs and get a table, all right? Then what I want you to do is I want you to get 2 pop-up banners that are promoting yourself. All right? Now, I don't know if you've seen these banners. They're similar to the banners that we have the minute you walk in the office. They're the kind that you just pull up and there's a stand behind them. Okay? Get 2 of them that promote you. Okay? Again, you are the CEO of your own business. You have to build your business. You own a business within a business. So if you have those pop-up banners and they walk in and they see the table and they see you sitting there and you've got 2 banners with you, your name and your picture on there, what kind of presentation does that give you? Do you look pretty professional? Do you look impressive? Do you look like someone I should trust with what is going to potentially be the largest financial investment and decision I'm going to make in my life? Yes. Right? So the point is, it's all about presentation, and if they're going to trust you with that business, then you better damn well do a good job of making yourself look professional. Okay? So I suggest getting 2 pop-up banners. Cost of the banners, it's going to cost you about $175 to $200 each. Okay? Which also leads me to my next point. If you're going to do that, you're going to need some headshots. Okay? Go get some professional headshots. There are plenty of people that'll do it, relatively inexpensive now.
No selfies?
No selfies, please. No bathroom pictures, guys. Okay? You know how many
A picture before you go to Vegas?
And you know what's funny is that every time people do the bathroom selfies, their heads are tilted this way. I don't know what it is, but anyway, at least we're over the duck phase. I don't see as many duck faces on the internet anyway. Okay, so get a professional headshot. Get yourself some banners. Okay. Then you're going to need an email flyer campaign. Okay. I use eflyers.net. There are other companies that provide email flyers for you. They can cost you up to $100 a campaign. Okay, you're gonna need this. All right, it's very challenging when you're trying to get your open house out and you want to get the word. You going out there and trying to send 500 emails to agents using Gmail versus a company that can send out 30,000 in one shot. Which is a more effective use of your time? For $50 to $100, just use an email company that'll email all the agents for you. Okay, it works. You're going to need MLS access, all right? This is another thing, okay? It should be common sense, but you know what? The truth is there are still people that are sharing the MLS access to other people that are agents. Get your MLS access. You need MLS access in order to do the open houses and to promote it. You need a super key, okay? These days now, my super key's on my phone. There's no more sharing of super keys now, okay? You need to get your own super key so that you can gain access to the properties. You need a listing. Okay, you're going to have a listing in order to do an open house. Now, if you don't have a listing, then I'm going to talk a little bit later on how you can go find other properties that you can promote. Okay, anything within the company, as far as I'm concerned, or anything, I'll speak for myself personally, but any listing I have is available to any of the agents in the company for them to use, to promote, to do open houses on. Okay, next thing you're going to need an iPad or a laptop or a tablet. You're going to need one of those things. Okay, it goes back to presentation, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why. Okay, so these are the tools that you're going to need to have a successful open house. Okay, all right. Any other questions or comments about this stuff? Going back to slide 1, you are the CEO of your own business. You're going to have to invest in your own business. These are the tools that you're going to need. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Preparation. Okay, this is big. Okay, I can't tell you how important preparing for an open house is. It sounds dumb in theory, right? But the truth is, preparing for the open house is just as important as the open house itself, okay? And look, I'm going to speak again from personal experience. There have been times where Friday night at 7 p.m., I just decide, you know what, the next morning I got nothing to do. I'm just going to go host an open house from noon to 4 p.m., okay? And I've gone over there, no flyers, no tables, no chairs, facilities, right? Didn't visit the house first, and I show up, number one, I don't have a key or the key's out of the super box, right? That's happened to me too. I show up, there's no utilities, there's no gas, there's no electric, there's no water, so it's all dark, right? And if I have to use the restroom, guess what? I gotta drive down to the local McDonald's. Didn't prepare right, so I didn't make any flyers for myself. So I show up there, and then later on, from 12 to 4, and I'm only doing it with 5 open house signs. So from 12 to 4 p.m., I put 5 open house signs. I've got no utilities. I've got no flyers. I didn't bring a laptop. It took me an hour to find out where the key was. And I'm sitting there from 12 to 4 complaining because nothing's happening and nobody's coming in. And I feel like I've wasted a day and this profession sucks. And all it's doing is wasting my time. And I'm mad at everybody else except who should I be more mad at?
Yourself.
Why? Because I didn't prepare. Okay? If you're going to do the open house, invest the time that it's going to take to make it successful so that you can use it to generate business. Number 1, choose your open house carefully. Okay? Check the MLS activity for activity for listings in surrounding areas. If you're seeing that there's a listing in the middle of a neighborhood and it's been on the market for 220 days and no houses around it have sold over the last 4 to 6 months, ask me this, do you think that you should be doing an open house in that neighborhood? No, because there's very little activity, right? You want a neighborhood that's going to have activity, where it's going to be hot, where people are going to be, they're going to be coming in to looking at homes, and not only your home, but other homes. So check the MLS activity for that listing and for the surrounding area. Make sure that the house is easy to access, okay? This is very important, all right? Because Aurelio, did you not just recently have an open house over for your Glendale listing?
Yes.
Okay. How challenging was it to get to that house?
It was very challenging just because it was a cul-de-sac and it was in the canyons. So I had to be very strategic in where I placed my open house signs at.
It's in the canyons of Glendale, right? Okay, so recently I had to do one over in the hills as well, over in the hills of Hollywood, and getting people there was very, very challenging because of all the hills and the turns, and it's very, very challenging. So if the house isn't that easy to access, okay guys, maybe an open house isn't the right move for that home. Okay, now a broker's open might be different, because Yvette and I did one in Malibu, and we had a broker's open. Brokers are more likely to go to a house that is secluded or difficult to get to, especially if you offer them what?
Food.
Free food. Okay? If you offer them free food, you can probably get the brokers there. All right? But the general public, the average ma and pop buyer that is looking for a property is probably not going to spend 10 to 15 minutes driving through the hills just to get to your open house. Okay? So be strategic about that. If you already know this, then why try to do an open house in that area? But yet we're stubborn. Okay? So am I. And I've done it. And I've done it for other houses up in the hills that you can't get to, and I'm sitting there twiddling my thumb. Oh, and then it gets even more fun when you've got the owner that doesn't want to go and wants to stay at the open house and is sitting there with you for 4 hours while you're twiddling your thumb because the house is in a canyon and they don't see anybody show up. Who looks like a fool? Later on, if the house has been sitting on the market, the owner thinks it's whose fault? Yours, right? Be strategic. If you know that the open house marketing strategy isn't right for that house, don't tell the owner that you're going to be having open houses there. Right? That shouldn't be part of your campaign. Be brave enough to say, hey, listen, you got a fantastic home, but it's in a little bit of a remote area. It's going to be challenging for most buyers to get to, and the reality is they're probably not going to drive through the canyons to get over here, unless they have an agent that's accompanying them, or unless it's a broker open. So for this, my marketing strategy for this property is not going to include open houses, but don't worry, I have other things in my arsenal that I'm going to use. Is that okay? How does that sound versus, yeah, no problem, I'll do the open house, and then you're sitting there with them playing checkers for 4 hours. Right? Okay. Use someone else's listing if necessary. All right? I get emails, you guys, from outside brokers and outside agents inquiring about my listings, asking me if they can hold open houses on my own listings. Okay? Now, here's why I'm offended by that. Because if I've got outside agents asking me if they can host open houses in my own listings, why are my own in-house agents not doing the same thing? Okay? So we've got listings that you can use here within the office. But you can always call up other agents. Okay? Find a listing that's been, that's fresh on the market. Believe it or not, believe it or not, most real estate agents aren't going to sit there and they're not going to hold open houses for their own house, for their own listings. Most agents don't even do the 10-10 rule. So they're not going to canvass 10 neighbors to the left, 10 neighbors to the right, 10 neighbors across the street. Most agents don't do it. And look, there are times when I'm guilty of the same exact thing. Okay? So my point is, if you call up an agent and you see that a property just hit the market and it's been on the market for about 7 to 10 days, and you see that it looks like it could be a hot listing, it's in an easy to access area, it looks like it could be a good listing for good traffic, call up the agent, email the agent, text the agent, Facebook the agent, LinkedIn the agent, whatever it takes, get a hold of the agent. Okay? That's another thing that I do. If I need to get a hold of somebody and they don't respond to my text, no problem, I'm going to send you a Facebook message. You don't respond to my Facebook message, no problem, I'm going to send you a LinkedIn message. You don't respond to my LinkedIn message, I'm going to send you a text. I'm going to get a hold of you, right? You can't just give up just because you called someone and they don't respond to an email. That's how I know when someone is motivated and they really want to work with me or they want to hold an open house on my property. They find a way to get a hold of me. If I see a message in Facebook and a message and a text message and then an email, they're trying to get a hold of me, this is somebody that, hey, look, they really want to work. Okay? So get a hold of, and by the way, you know, at the end of the day, the agent just wants the property sold, yes or no?
Yes.
Right. Get a hold of the agent, okay? Now, in addition to preparing for that open house, the other thing that I want you to do is I want you to have a list of the active listings within a half-mile radius. So yes, you're going to have property flyers with the property information and your information, but you're also going to have flyers with all the listings that are active and available within a half-mile radius when the person comes in, right? And you're going to have your contact information on that list as well. Why are you going to do that?
Comparables.
Comparables,
Pricing.
right?
Because you want to use them, you want them to use you for that purchase of the other home.
You want them to use you for that purchase of the other home because you are now providing value, because 90%, if not more, of the buyers that come into an open house typically don't buy the house that they're going into for the open house. I don't know if you guys know that statistic or not. Okay? So if they're coming in, you already know that there's probably a good chance that they're not going to buy that particular house. But if you provide enough value and you show them, look, there's about 7 or 8 other homes around the neighborhood that you can go take a look at as well. Call me if you need anything. Can I get your contact information? Now you've built a fan, right? Because it's all about value. Okay? Now, next thing you want to do is you want to visit the listing. Okay? Visit the listing before the open house. Okay? Don't show up the day of the open house and then get upset because it smells like cat pee. Okay? Which has happened to me. Okay? These are all mistakes I've made, by the way, guys. Okay? I'm not above it. So make sure that it's clean. Make sure that it smells good. Okay? If the house doesn't smell good, okay, then what you need to do is you need to show up. I remember that there was a time where I would have bleach and Febreze and cleaning stuff in my truck at all times because I was selling a lot of foreclosure. Okay, so what you, the viewer, didn't get to see is that the second half of this training is being re-recorded. Unfortunately, the memory card that was being used to record the first training was filled to its capacity, and so we're redoing the training again. So I'm going to reenact the same training that I did earlier today, covering the same information where I left off. And where I left off on was making sure that it's clean. And a few years back, between 2007 to 2012, I was a pretty prominent REO agent. And at that time, I would go to homes that had been foreclosed on, and I'd walk in, and the swimming pools were starting to turn green. So I used to always carry a few bottles of bleach in my car so that if I needed to, I could easily just pour that bleach into the pools if they were looking a little green, just to clean them up a little bit. I would have candles with me so that I could light those candles so that it could smell good. Because at the end of the day, the truth is, you know, when people walk in, they don't want to be greeted by a dirty house or a smelly house. In fact, there was one time during the holidays where I was selling a house over in the Pasadena area. It was one of the mansions over on the Wigmore Street. Spanish-style home, fantastic home. And I won't forget that during the holiday season, what I did was I lit holiday-scented candles throughout the property. So there was peppermint, there was cranberry scents, there was the apple pie scents, and I lit those through the entire house. And the minute that a young family walked in, a little girl said, "Daddy, Mommy, I want this house. This house smells like Christmas." And that family eventually put in an offer on that property. So smells and the way the property looks is very, very important. It's important that we make sure that we keep the house looking at its best. Okay, so you want to make sure that it's clean. You want to make sure that it smells good. You also want to make sure that the utilities are on for the open house. This is huge. And understand that I've made all these mistakes, right? And so when you go to an open house and the utilities aren't on and there's no electricity, if the house isn't well lit and it doesn't take advantage of any natural sunlight, then it's going to be dark and it's going to be scary and people aren't going to like that. So you got to make sure that you have all the utilities on. Okay? Now, if the temperature is such that you can have all the windows open, that's not a bad idea either. Open up all the windows, open up all the blinds, open up all the curtains. Make sure that the house is as bright as possible, whether you do that with natural sunlight or whether you do that with just electricity and normal light bulbs. So make sure that the utilities are on, but you want to also make sure that the utilities are on, because what if you got to go to the bathroom? Right? And I've made this mistake. I've made this mistake where I'm going to go do an open house, the utilities aren't on, and I got to run to the local McDonald's or the local Starbucks just to go pee. Right? So you have to make sure that the utilities are on. And every so often you're going to get an open house guest that, despite the fact that the water isn't on, they're going to still go use the restroom, and all of a sudden you've got a toilet with no water running and you can't flush it. Right? So make sure that the utilities are on. Now, if it's your listing, call your client, tell them to turn the utilities on. In some cases, what I do is I'll just turn the utilities in my own name to make sure that the utilities are on with my seller's consent, and then what I'll do is I'll invoice them either through escrow or directly, just like any normal property manager would do. If it's somebody else's listing, if it's another agent, then you're going to want to talk to that agent and you're going to want to make sure that the utilities are on or have them turn the utilities on. Okay. Now, the next thing that you want to do in preparation for a successful open house is you want to make sure you go canvass the neighborhood. Go talk to the people, 10 to the left, 10 to the right, 10 across the street. Speak to the entire neighborhood about the open house, okay? Invite them. And the script that I normally use when I'm canvassing is I'm going to go knock on the door and I'm going to say, "Hi, Jane or John Doe. My name is Paul Argueta. I'm a real estate broker. Your neighbor at 1234 Mockingbird Lane. I'm not sure if you noticed it or not. Just put the house up for sale. This Saturday between 12 to 4 p.m. I'm going to be holding an open house. I would love for you to pop by. I would love to invite you as my personal guests. I'm going to have some small food, maybe something from Porto's, for instance. I'd love to invite you so that you can come by and take a look. Can you be there?" And they'll tell me yes or they'll tell me no. And at the end of the conversation, I'm going to end it with something like, "And by the way, when do you plan on making a move?" Okay, that's going to be my anchor. All right, so you want to make sure that you canvass the neighborhood. Go out and talk to all of the neighbors. Invite them to the open house. Let them know that there'll be some small finger foods that they can come participate in, okay? Next thing you want to do is you want to map out the area for signs. Again, this is another mistake that I've made, okay? The worst thing that you can do is go to the open house not knowing where you're going to post the open house signs and just randomly select different areas or what you might perceive as busy streets on the day that you're going to hold the open house, especially if you have about 30 open house signs. Be strategic with your time, be strategic with what you're going to do. And so the night before, the day before, map out the area. Take a look at a map on Google, look at an aerial map if you will, find out where the busy streets are, make sure that you know exactly where you're going to place those open house signs so that the day of, you're not scrambling trying to figure it out. Okay, it's all about the preparation. Now, you also want to avoid cities that do not allow open houses. There are some cities out there that won't permit open houses. There are some cities out there that will permit open houses but won't permit open house signs. Okay? And in many cases when you hold open houses in those cities and you leave the open house signs, they will be confiscated. So, do your research early, find out which are the cities that do not permit open houses, find out which of the cities do permit open houses but don't allow the open house signs, and lastly, find out which cities require permit stickers on the open house signs so that you can go get those permit stickers prior to the open house. Again, don't wait till the last minute. I've made this mistake. Friday, 4:45 p.m. I'm trying to call the local city, the local city office to get those permits for those stickers, for my signs. I'm scrambling to try to make it work. And the truth is, it's my fault, right, for not getting it done. And in some cases, I got those stickers. And in many cases, I didn't. And there were times where I'd try to hold those open houses and my signs would get confiscated. And then I'd have to pay a fee and go pick them up. And in many cases, the fee wasn't even worth the cost of ordering new signs. So save yourself the headache, save yourself the trouble, make sure that you prepare early, okay? Find out if those cities require permits, all right? Slide number 4. Let's talk about promoting the open house, promoting the event, right? Because this is very, very important. It's important that you do a good job promoting the event so that you can have a successful open house. We've already talked about canvassing the neighborhood, okay? The other thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to call the neighbors, right? You're going to talk to all of them. Talk to your local title rep. Use one of the auto dialers that provide you with the telephone numbers to the surrounding areas. Whatever it is that you're going to use to prospect, use it and get a hold of the neighbors. And the script is going to be the exact same script that we use when we're canvassing, right? It might differ a little bit. And here's the script that I use. Hi, John or Jane Doe. My name is Paul Argueta. Listen, we've never met, right? Here's why I'm calling. Your neighbor at 1234 Mockingbird Lane just put their property up for sale. This Saturday between 12 and 4, I'm going to be holding it open. There's going to be an open house. I'm going to have some finger foods. I would love to invite you as my personal guest. Can you be there? Right? Now, again, when I call, there's a strategy behind what I do and what I say. I don't say, hi, this is Paul from REH Real Estate. Hi, this is Paul from Real Estate Heaven, because within 30 seconds, I've already lost their interest. So the first thing that I say when I call someone is, hi, John or Jane Doe. Listen, we've never personally met. The reason I say that is because they don't know where the conversation is going at that point. They're not sure what bombshell I might drop on them when I say we've never personally met. So their ears perk up and I immediately have their attention. Hi, John or Jane Doe. My name is Paul Argueta. Listen, we've never personally met. Boom, here's why I'm calling. And I go straight to the point. Your neighbor at 1234 Mockingbird Lane just put their property up for sale. This Saturday from 12 to 4, I'm going to be hosting an open house. There's going to be some light finger food. I'd like to invite you as my personal guest. Can you be there? Right? Some people are going to say yes, some people are going to say no. Fantastic. Oh, and tell me, by the way, when do you plan on making a move? And then I go through my normal script. Right? Okay. Next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to update the MLS. There are sites like Zillow and Redfin who auto-populate that information based on the MLS information. And if the MLS is not updated to reflect that there is going to be an open house, it won't show up on Zillow, it won't show up on Redfin. And right now those are two very popular sites and apps that people use to find open houses. So I suggest you follow that rule and you update the MLS, right? Next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to send out an email blast. Okay? And this was one of the tools that I said at the very beginning you're going to need in this business. Now, some people are going to argue that the email blasts are ineffective. You know, the truth is people still check their email, agents still check their email. So use the email blast. Okay? There are companies out there that will send email blasts for the open houses, and they'll reach upwards to about 45,000 people in the LA County area, 45,000 agents really in the area that are going to hear about your open house. This isn't to the general public. Those email blast companies only send to agents, but at the end of the day, those are the agents that could potentially have buyers that they're going to bring by to your open house. Okay, and I've sold many open houses that way, and in some cases the agents just sent their buyer over to my open house. Okay, so make sure you use an email blast. Next thing you can do is at the agent Caravan, right? Depending on what day, you know, Board of Realtors have their Caravan day, when you're there, you know, what you can do is you can also talk about the fact that you're going to have an open house that weekend. So if you're going to be pitching a property at the local Board of Realtors during their Caravan, as you're getting ready and you're inviting all the brokers to come by and visit your property during the Caravan to get free food, you can also tell them, by the way, Saturday from 12 to 4 p.m., I will also be hosting an open house. So if you're interested after visiting today, make sure that you bring your buyer Saturday from 12 to 4. Okay, so use your Caravan. And then lastly, Craigslist ads. Right? Craigslist ads are free. You run the ad, you put the property address, you put it out there, and you advertise the property, and you advertise that you're going to be hosting an open house that day. okay? Make sure you use all of these tools at your disposal when you're promoting the open house. Now, some people are going to also ask about using Facebook, right, and boosting a post and sharing a post. Now, I will tell you that I am a huge proponent of all social media, right? So that means Facebook, I suggest you share a link or a photo or something indicating that you're going to be there holding an open house between, you know, the hours that you hold it open. I suggest you post it on Google+. I suggest you post it on LinkedIn. I suggest you post a picture of it on Instagram. You want to promote it in as many different places as you possibly can. Now, there are going to be some people that are going to recommend boosting the post as well as a form of lead generation. I will tell you that just getting likes and thumbs ups and all that stuff on Facebook is not the same as lead generation. Yes, you've got some eyeballs and you've got some interaction, but at the end of the day, that interaction doesn't necessarily get you business. Okay, so if you're going to share it for the sake of sharing it so that your sphere of influence can see what it is that you're doing, there is value in that. You know, there will be another class on how to use Facebook advertising to generate leads. I haven't personally had much success boosting a post just to get people to my open house. Okay, enough of that. We'll go on to the next slide. Okay, let's talk about lead generation. All right, number one, when you're having the open house, you've got your 30 for sale signs out. You've got your 2 feather flags on the front of the property, right? They walk in, you have your 2 chairs, you have your tablecloth, you've got 2 pull-up banners promoting yourself as the agent, right? So what you've done is you've now established your professional image and you're doing a fantastic job. When you hold the open house, close the front door. That's my personal recommendation, okay? Now you can take this for what it is. I will tell you that if you just leave the door open, people will stroll through, they'll look for you, and normally you should be situated right there. But what happens is that by having the door closed, it forces me to get up, open the door, and greet them face to face. Okay? So I personally prefer that I close the front door when I'm holding my open house so that I can go open. Trust me, all the signs have already indicated to them that the property is open and available for viewing. Just because the door is closed doesn't mean they're not going to go in. They're going to knock on the door and they're going to see. I've done this many, many times. It works. Okay? And it gives me the opportunity to immediately start the conversation with them the minute they walk through the front door. Okay? Versus me sitting at a chair waiting for them and waiting for them to come to me. All right? Now, never plan on calling people later. In other words, you cannot assume that even though you may get their contact information, you cannot assume that you're going to be able to make contact with them later on, or that they're going to give you accurate information. So you want to make sure that you get, you generate a lead out of it, and you get as much information from them as you possibly can there, and you do it tactfully, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. People will part with their information when they receive something of value. Okay, that's very, very important. All too often, I see agents at open houses. They're trying to force people to sign on their online or on their iPad sign-in sheet or on their old school sign-in sheet, and they try to get them to do this. People won't give you their information if they don't feel like there's any value in what it is that you're doing. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you offer something of value. There has to be a perceived value in you. Okay, so it's very important that you offer things like off-market listings. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'll tell you what, in addition to this home, we have plenty of other properties that aren't on the market. They're off-market deals that are exclusive to our office. And what I can do is if I get your contact information, if I get your email, I'll send you a list of all the off-market properties that are on the MLS right now. Okay? Fixer-uppers. Okay, I don't know what it is, but people are still, based on all these reality TV shows, everyone's talking about fixer-uppers and flips and all this stuff. And so that is going to be, and for a long time will still be, right, a trigger word in our business. So make sure that you tell them, look, our firm has fixer-uppers. They have properties that you can buy low, fix, and sell high. I can send you an exclusive list of these types of properties for you so that you could, you consider. There's value in what it is that I bring to the table in exchange for you giving me your email address. Or if you'd like, what I can do is I can text you this list as well, which is better for you. Okay? So fixer-uppers. Now, let's talk about a digital sign-in sheet. The reason that I'm going to recommend that you use a digital sign-in sheet versus the old school pen and paper sign-in sheet is for the simple reason that most people or I shouldn't say most people, it's for the simple reason that there will be times where I will not be able to read someone's handwriting. And then it turns into a guessing game. Then I'm trying to guess what their telephone number is, I'm trying to guess what their email address is, and time is money. And believe it or not, when you're doing this, with 10, 15, 20, 30 different people, and you're trying to decipher what it is, and you're testing the email, and you're testing the phone out, it wastes time. Use a digital sign-in sheet. There's one called Open Home Pro that you can use, and you can get people to sign in that way. Keep in mind, people will not they will not give you their information without receiving anything of value. So you offer them value in exchange for getting your information, so that way I can email it to you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, or I can text it to you, which is better. Okay? So, digital sign-in sheet. Next thing I want is, as you're hosting your open house, okay, you want to have either a laptop or another iPad there with a 3D virtual walkthrough of that specific home, or just examples of other 3D virtual walkthroughs. The reason that I want you to do that is because it shows that you're technologically savvy. Okay? And there will be times where you will get neighbors that will come into the property, and they might be on the fence thinking about buying, thinking about selling, and if they see that you elude this professional environment, right? And they see that you're savvy and you know what you're doing and you've got all this marketing materials, then all it does is it just reinforces their faith in you. So make sure that you have that 3D virtual walkthrough. It's a great topic of conversation. And if you're a part of our company, also remember that we offer these 3D virtual walkthroughs to neighbors, to business owners for free. Okay? So it's not uncommon for me to say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, hey, listen, we offer these 3D virtual walkthroughs to anyone. I can get you one for free. They can cost anywhere between $500 to $1,000, but I'll get you one for free so that you could keep some, so that you could have it as a keepsake, right? So that you could have it for insurance purposes. In case something happens to the home, you'll have a 3D walkthrough showing all the stuff that you have. It could be phenomenal. I'd love to offer you one. What would be a better time to set it up? Are weekdays good or weekends for you? Right? And then you just offer it with no obligation. So that is a great conversation piece. It's a great tool that you can offer, right? As real estate agents, we can offer it to local business owners. This is huge too, because remember that now, especially on Google Maps, they are allowing you to do indoor street views. In other words, people can now look through other businesses or walk through their businesses as they're using Google Maps. Okay, and the more likely that somebody is doing a virtual walkthrough of that business, the greater the chances of them going through. So if we can offer it to the general public within our communities, why not make it available to them, right, as realtors? Why not offer more value, okay? Online feedback sheet using Google Forms. So this is another thing that you can do. What you can do is you can create an online Google Sheet, and I believe that I showed one last time. And I'll see if I can get one up on the screen real fast. So here was a form that we used for a property that we were selling in Malibu. And what we did was we offered everyone a $100 gift card as a raffle for those that participated. And the questions included their email address, their first and last name, the condition, what they thought about the condition of the home, what was their favorite feature, what did they dislike, what would you do to improve the home, and what would you offer for the home. And what we did was we broke down the pricing, right, in increments of about 500,000, or excuse me, 250 to 500,000, to get a better feel for what people would probably offer for the property. In addition to that, our seller was CC'd on this. So every time somebody filled out a new form, he'd receive an email with their responses. And then at the end of the day, he would also be able to see the pie chart of people's responses and what they felt. No, it's not showing up in this one. This was just a sample. But my point is that you don't look like the bad guy or bad gal, right? Now, you've got everybody else's responses going back to your seller or going back to the client, and you're letting them know, hey, look, 80% of the people that submitted this form feel that the property is worth X amount of dollars, and we have it listed for, $250,000 higher, right? So use the Google form so that way you can get responses, but you can also get their email addresses as well. Now, lastly, what I want you to do is I want you to also have a list of comparable listings that are active and available within a 1/4 mile radius, okay? With your contact information on that sheet. Why is that valuable? Again, Because we know that statistics show most of the time a person who walks into an open house typically does not buy that open house. I'm not saying that it doesn't ever happen. I'm just saying that statistically speaking, we already know that the person going into that open house is probably not going to buy it. And as such, if you have something of value, which is a list of other comparable homes available for sale in the area that they can go and visit while they're doing their home shopping anyway, why not give it to them, right? Value, okay? Now, when they come in, there's a few questions that you need to learn how to ask. This is very, very important, okay? And these are all part of scripts and dialogue. And it's important that you role play and practice your scripts and dialogue on a daily basis. So if you don't have a script or dialogue partner, make sure you get one. Get one that you can hold accountable and get one that can hold you accountable. And you should be practicing these scripts, right? And if you don't have a partner, then you should be listening to these scripts on a daily basis. There was a time where I was listening to scripts from real estate coaches in my car regularly, right? On a daily basis. I still listen to them, but not the way I used to. And I used to listen to them with my kids in the car, and they got so sick and tired of it to the point where they knew the scripts as well as I did. Okay? So here are the questions that you need to ask when someone, a prospective buyer, client, neighbor comes in to an open house. Number one, do you have to sell your home in order to buy this one? Why are we asking them this question? Well, number one, because if they do have to sell their home, right, to buy this one, we know that we have a potential seller and a potential listing in our hands. That's a hot lead, okay? It's very important to start with that question. Number two, how long have you been looking, right? If we hear that a buyer has been looking for the last 8 to 12 months and they haven't made a purchase, well, then we know that we have a professional open house visitor, right? We want someone that says, you know, I've been looking for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'm going to follow up with that question with, by when do you think you'd like to be in your new home? Do you think January would be good, or would February be better? Now, mind you, right now it's January 1st, right? So do you want to be in by the end of January, or do you think the end of February would be better? Which is better for you? And I'd like to see how they respond to that question. Have you submitted any offers? Now, if they say they've submitted 2 or 3 offers and they haven't been getting any of the offers accepted, I know that something's up. And I also know that there's an opportunity for me to provide value and explain to them how I can get their offers accepted, right? So these are all questions that you should be asking the prospective clients that are coming through the doors of those open houses, okay? We're going to go to our 6th and final slide, okay? To open house success, the follow-up. The fortune is in the follow-up. We've heard that time and time again, and it's very important that you practice this religiously. You have to follow up with the client, okay? I can't tell you the number of agents that I've seen hold an open house with 15 to 20 leads, phone numbers, emails, and then they don't get back to them until about a week later, okay? You want to make sure that you get a hold of them the following day or the following Monday, okay? It is imperative. I would much rather lose a client due to my enthusiasm and the excitement that I have of working with them versus not being excited enough and then finding out that they are working with somebody else who's more committed to their success. So make sure you follow up. Again, remember what your value proposition is. This is huge. This is very important. The internet wants to paint us as glorified door openers, right? You offer more value than that. And you have to believe that, and you have to prove that. Next thing you want to do is, you want to have your scripts ready. Okay? You want to know the dialogue and the conversation that is going to come up. One of the most common questions or common comments that you're going to hear is, I already have an agent. How are you going to overcome that that objection? Right? So I already have an agent, Paul. We're already working with someone. I see, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer. So you say you're already working with another agent. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. I see. Well, tell me, did you know that you could have more than one agent working for you at the same time? Question mark. They're going to say yes, or they're going to say no. And if that other agent finds you an opportunity that I wasn't able to provide you with, then you'd probably want to work with that agent. Is that correct? Yes. And if I find you an opportunity that other agent didn't have, then you'd probably want to work with me. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. And that's the benefit of having 2 agents working for you at the same time, isn't it, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer? Yes, which is precisely why I'm excited about working with you, and I'm going to make sure that I bring you those opportunities. So what's the best way to email them to you? Is it your your personal email, or your business email? Should I text them to you, or do you want to just stick to email or phone calls? So that's you want to have those scripts down. Now, we are just looking. Okay, you got to be ready for we are just looking. I see. So Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, tell me, how long have you been just looking? And then you wait and you hear what the responses are, and you got to know how to overcome those objections. I'm not going to keep going into scripts because I could keep us here for a while, but make sure that you know your scripts. Again, find a partner, practice daily, right? Practice, drill, rehearse, okay? Now, you're going to call them, okay? If you can't get a hold of them by calling them, then what you're going to do is you're going to text them, okay? Then what you're going to do is you're going to Facebook them, okay? Send them a message through Facebook Messenger. You can find people on Facebook with their cell phones now. You can find people on Facebook with their email addresses or on Instagram. Either way, I don't care how you get a hold of them, but you're going to message them. Again, I would much rather lose a client due to overexcitement and enthusiasm versus not being excited enough. Okay? Get a hold of them. Next thing you want to do is you want to add them to your CRM, Customer Relationship Management Software, or Manager, whatever software you use. My software of choice just happens to be Top Producer, but there are other ones. There are WiseOwl, there's LionDesk. There's quite a few different CRMs that you can use. MailChimp, Constant Contact, whatever it might be. Just make sure that you place them in a CRM so that you have something that is constantly following up with your clients, with your buyers. Okay? Now in this day and age, right, the truth is, getting a hold of someone on the phone is a phenomenal way, right, of contacting them. Because everything has become so impersonal. Everything is text and everything is email. And so when you call them and you actually make human contact with them, believe it or not, it has an impact. Okay? We all desire that. So try to get a hold of them by the phone. If that doesn't work, then you're going to rely on your arsenal of other tools that you can use to communicate with them as well. But the key here is to make sure that you follow up immediately. Immediately, right? And you follow up enthused and excited. You can't call somebody up